Hello and welcome, hope everyone's alright. We're still inside at the moment. I've just done the Cyathea video, so I thought I'd do one on the other plant that's been inside all winter, which is the giant honeysuckle, or Lonicera Hildebrandiana, although actually I think it's Lonicera Hildebrandiana. You know when you get yourself in the habit of saying something and it's wrong. But going on from that and my lack of knowledge about sort of gardening, if you like, I have a passion for it, but I've never really done a lot with plants themselves. I like building stone walls and things, making waterfalls and that sort of thing, if you see what I mean. So I have been reading up on sort of just climbers in general and things like that, but I just thought I'd sort of ask myself questions, you guys questions, or just, sort of get confirmation on what I'm thinking is right, because this was pretty hard to get hold of. It took me the longest. I started looking for it last January, February. I didn't find anyone who had it until August, late August. Again, that was a couple of sort of, first of all, you start off the first wave, which is just go to your local garden centres when you're passing or when you're in there and just see if they've got it or if they can get it. No joy on that. Started going out a bit further into Bristol looking at them, which is a good 15 miles away, just that sort of next ring out that you're sort of willing to drive within half hour, 45 minutes, hour sort of job. No one had any. Went to my guy down in Taunton, which is about 40 minutes away, which is the desert to jungle, which is where I've been getting a lot of my ferns and sort of these plants from. They didn't do it. In the end, I emailed a load of garden centres, sort of, around. No one did it. And then, funny enough, I'd sort of not given up hope, but I just left it for a month. Sometimes then you go, all right, I'll just go get someone else. And then I looked again, just put it into Google, and it came up with one that had it. But what they do is they sort of say they've got it, if you know what I mean. And when you look online and the thing comes up on Google, you're sort of like, oh, they're describing the care for it. It looks like they've got the price for it on there. Then you click on the site and it's always out of stock, and then you email them, and they say they haven't got any. So, but funny enough, the place that was like that I just took a shot on, it's quite funny how it all works out, and it was what was it? I think it was Tining's Climbers. She's a climbers specialist. I think she goes up to Chelsea or whatever the other one is each year and gets gold. She has done for the last 5 years. She actually had them. They weren't ready for a few weeks, but in the end I got it. So we're talking good. And the best thing about it was that technically she is the closest garden centre to me. The nearest garden centre's about 3 miles away. And she is kind of like, how houses on streets are oddly numbered, so you've got 1 on the left, 2 on the right, 3 on the left, 4 on the right, and they sort of go up like that, if you see what I mean. So it's 1, 3, 5, so like that on one side and the other side. The garden centres, if you imagine it's like number 100, she's probably number like 94, 93 or something. She's on the other side of the road and the entrance is just a bit short of it. So yeah, quite funny how it all works out. So that was good. It took me less time to get this travelling wise than anything else, and I was willing to go a couple of hours for this if I had to. Anyway, enough of that. So the questions I've got on it are, you can see this thing is absolutely exploding now. So it's got 3 grow points at the top of there. It's got 2 or 3 at the top of this stem. If we go down, it's coming out of the little nodes at the back. You can see it's coming out of this node here. It's got a nice big leaf coming out towards us underneath this old stem. It's got one at the back there. It's got them down. This thing is ready to go. So my first question is basically with the training of this. As far as I understand it, it's a kind of viney, runnery one, which means that it will sort of, if there's a trellis, it will wind its way in and out of it, or I can train it to do that, and that's enough. So yeah, is that right in thinking that? And I don't need to tie this in or anything like that, so I just need to train it through a trellis. And if so, on the initial bit before it gets to the trellis, up high, I can just sort of lean it against something, hopefully, rather than train it for a trellis, because I think this thing is going to get, hopefully, quite big and woody, like tree trunky at the bottom of it, if you see what I mean. So obviously I don't want anything too permanent in there because I don't want it to restrict the growth of it. So I could probably just lean the, if we imagine this up to the Buddha up there, lean something like a trellis against the wall, just let it run up on top of it, and then when it hits the big trellis that's going to go left and right, let it weave its way in and out of it. That's the sort of plan on that. When it comes to pruning, as far as I understand it, you do it after the flowering. So I would prune this in September if it's going to be a summer flowerer. Does that sort of sound right for honeysuckles? I'm not going to do any pruning this year, but when it's finally in the ground and that. But yeah, just or if that's completely wrong, let me know, because I seem to have got myself a bit confused on when to prune this thing. But as far as I'm aware, it's a late summer flowerer, so it'll start flowering July, August, September. That'll be its kind of flowering season, as far as I'm aware. There's difficult to get information on this. And also, when I prune it, the effect is going to kind of be that it stops growing and it will pop out like these bits down here, like as in if this green bit here grows up in a long run, and at the end of the year I chop that end off, that will then split out sort of 4 or 5 ways from that height, all in different directions like a spider web. Is that the kind of effect? These have obviously stopped growing because they've gone dormant, so that should carry on growing straight up now. Yeah, I think. I hope. So yeah, if anyone's got any tips on sort of just that, just a couple of sentences just to let me know when and sort of the effects of it. I mean, I'm not too worried about the effects, but yeah, just sort of when and how would be a good one. Overwintering, I take it if I want to overwinter this, which I might need to because it's not completely hardy, which is why no one sells it. I guess it would be heavy mulch around the roots. Is it the roots I'm protecting mainly, or would I need to do the stem, do you think? And if it's the stem, you can see that's gone woody already. Would that kind of be okay, and I just protect the green bit after I've pruned it? I'll have a good look, but if anyone overwinters climbers regularly and has got a good technique, please do let me know. Now, this is quite an important one. A, because I've never propagated plants before, and B, it seems like a good idea to do it on this one purely because it was so hard to get. And I watched a video, I think it was the horticulturist, is the only video I could find on this plant down in Australia. And the gist I got was that you can only take cuttings off of non-flowering new growth. So, say one of these side shoots down the bottom here, is it a case of I put it in the ground, this thing grows out probably like this thing was last year, and let's just say, for example, it goes double the length of this one that's been cut by the lady when she obviously propagated this one. I can leave that to go twice as long as that and then cut it sort of halfway down or a couple of nodes down. Is that it? And then just chuck it in some water effectively? Is that kind of the gist of it? Or yeah, anyone knows any techniques for that, then let me know, because I'd be quite interested. I'm not on about selling them or anything like that, but I might put them elsewhere. It would be insurance for if mine goes, if you know what I mean. I can keep it inside. I know it's going to grow well for the first couple of years, hopefully against this sort of window up there. Sorry, that was a really stupid idea, but yeah, because I've seen videos on propagation, but I've not seen videos on propagating this plant, so I'm sort of assuming that honeysuckles, because they're all the same, would be done in the same way. So if I look at a video on propagating honeysuckles, that'll be the way to do it. But that's the kind of gist I'm getting from that I need to do it before it starts flowering, which hopefully will take a couple of years, which means I can get quite a few cuttings off it. So yeah. Right then, and then last one with this is just the sort of, what do you think the best thing to do with it now is, because you can see it's starting to grow inside. I don't particularly want it going too mental, not because of height or anything like that, but just because obviously it's going to go from a consistently 16-degree temperature in a south facing window, which is an obscured window, if you like you're having a bathroom, you know, to outside full bright sun and obviously the elements and stuff like that. So with the Cyathias, like I said, in the next couple of days I'm going to move them out to the garage, which will probably keep it at about 8 to 10 degrees consistently, but obviously the light will be different. And then and then move them out when the outside nighttime temperatures or low temperatures for the, you know, for the days is sort of around the same temperature, but just put them out in pots for a couple of days near where they're going to be, so that they get the gist of the light and all that and the wind and all that, and then put them in the ground 2 weeks after that, if you like. Do you reckon that is a good idea for that, or do I leave it up there for a couple of weeks until the temperatures are sort of, you know, up warmish around 10 degrees at night, and then put it straight outside for a couple of weeks and then in the ground? Or do I just chuck it straight out, you know, shortly as soon as this little thing's over? Yeah, it's one of them. I don't know whether I want to shock it too many times before I put it out. So yeah, anyway, yeah, this is just me mainly asking myself questions, but also hopefully someone's got some tips on it, who can let me know just some specifics so I can get it right in my head. That'd be good. Might do another one of these on the hydrangeas outside, because they're obviously going to start growing soon, but they're a different family of plants, so they might need different care. And also next time I'm in the garden, I might do it at the next one. I'll go through what climbers I'm planning to get where, and if we've got any spaces, people can make some suggestions. So yeah, that's it on that. But I'm really happy with this, because if you remember, I got this in the first week of September. I had it out. I messed up the repotting of it. What did I do? I can't remember what I did, but essentially, I compacted it too much, so it was soaking wet. So like proper soaking wet that soil was, because I compacted it too much. So it didn't actually do anything. So I repotted it, which makes it didn't do any more. Then it stopped. Then the temperatures obviously went down too much, so it didn't do any more. So literally up until the last video I did, when it just started getting green, which was probably, what was it, a few weeks ago now, it hadn't done anything. My only hope that I had was that all the leaves didn't die, so I was kind of like, yeah, it might just be in a sort of dormant phase. So I'm glad it started growing. That's quite good from my point of view, obviously. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody else does this either, but I had loads of flies on it in early November, so I went and got a couple of spiders out in the garden when I was doing stuff, and just put them in the pot. And they seem to have curtailed them quite a lot. You can see little sort of nips out of leaves and things like that from before, but other than that, nothing else has happened. I think the spider is probably behind the tape there. That's where he usually sits. You can't see it because it's obviously a bit thing, but there's webbing, or you might just be able to see there, and he sort of caught a couple of little flies at the top there. So yeah, is there a reason I shouldn't be bringing spiders in to look after my house plants other than the missus? Yeah, let me know. Cheers.